Bonjour, everyone. Hi, this is Neshi Lokotz. Welcome to Star Nations Organization's main fan page here on Facebook and to the live stream show, Communications from Home. This is a weekly show on Tuesday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern. And this is Tuesday, October 23rd. I know, can you believe that? It's already toward the end of the month. It's going by like that. Really quickly. I am so excited for this evening's show tonight because of our guest. It's been, there's a lot of people in my friends group that knows this man and Bob Huttinga, and he's our guest tonight. And I can't wait to get started. But you know what? One of the things that we need to do is, if you wouldn't mind, because I'm going to do it too, is to share the broadcast, the show, and also to like it, because it does two things. One, it will get us into the newsfeed on Facebook more often, but more importantly, I know there's people out there that wanted to watch the show, but they get busy, right? And they forget. And so when they get the notification that something's been shared to them, they say, oh yeah, that's right, I was going to do that. So if you wouldn't mind doing that for me, or with me, I should say, and I'm going to like it, and I'm going to share the show, okay? And first of all, I'm going to do it to my timeline, because that is, so all my friends know, right? And so I'm just going to let them know that I'm live streaming. And it doesn't take long, because I like those quick keys. And then just to please join me. There we go. And that's to my timeline. And then I'm going to share it to the Star Nations Radio Network closed group, because that is where a lot of the most active Star Nation community members kind of hang out. So I want to do that. And I'm just going to say, hey, peeps. And why do I call them peeps? Because they're my peoples. Live streaming right now. And then just to please join me. There we go. And I want to make sure I get it to the right group, because we have a couple closed groups. All right, so there we go. That's posted. There. And thank you for sharing. I appreciate that. Hi, Becky. Becky's in the house. Becky Stewart. Good to see you in the chat. And Jackie's with us too. Hi, Jackie. Nice that you're here. It's always good to see you in the chat. So tonight's show, I met Bob a couple weeks ago. I've known about Bob for a long time, because we have friends in common, but we actually hadn't met in person, right? And Bob and his wife, Barb, came to a class that we're holding here, along with some of their friends from Toma, from where I live. And it was a class that Minnie Kansman and I taught together. And so that was the first time I met Bob in person. And so before the end of the weekend, I wanted to make sure that I had him booked for this show, or a show. And because I don't know if any of you have ever seen his Facebook. Does anybody have any medical questions, right? And how many people ask him those questions? I don't know how he gets through that long list, but he's got some good information, doesn't he? So for those, hey, Ann, for those who may not know Bob Huttinga, this is a little bit about him. Bob is a certified physician's assistant and certified natural health practitioner who still makes house calls. Still makes house calls. That has got to be really valuable in where he provides service. I bet you anything he's busy a lot. He practices traditional medicine with drugs and surgery, as well as alternative medicine with nutrition, herbs, essential oils, and clinical homeopathy. He and his partner, Barbara, own the Healing Center near Grand Rapids, Michigan. Bob, I think you need to update this. because they just recently sold that. He writes a newspaper column and has authored 2 books, which I have to show you here in a little bit. Put Your Health in Your Own Hands, an upcoming book, and it's already in print because I've got one. Your Success, How to Create an Amazing Life. In addition, he has produced a series of mind coaching audio CDs to help people learn to relax, and we could all use that, and use their minds to heal themselves. He says that his passion is to teach people to put their health in their own hands. I like that line. I do. So with no further ado, because we got lots to cover tonight, we're going to bring Bob on. And we're going to do this. There we go. Hi, Bob. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Neshi. How you doing?
I'm doing really well. It's Tuesday night, and I tell you what, I couldn't wait for this evening's show. Of course, you know that you and I have been working on the content for at least a couple of days, right?
Mm-hmm.
But even before that, because I know this information is going to be very useful to a lot of people, and we got a lot of your friends in the house. There's, Versa Brad Haas, Barbara Stolson Richards, and of course, Jocelyn. Hello, Jocelyn. We also have somebody out from the Maine area. I'm sorry, Massachusetts. Karen Kirsted is with us too. So this topic that we were talking about when you were here in September, I had asked Bob if you were going, because Bob, you appear on a lot of talk shows and you get interviewed a lot too. And I asked you, what is the one question that you always want people to ask you, but you never get asked and to be able to really, really talk about? And you took a few minutes and you said, I'd really like to talk about the DNA and the genetics. And we talked a little bit about that. And I said, well, let's do it. So Bob, when we talk about the genetics, we're talking about the DNA. And for me, the DNA is, of course, multi-leveled. It includes our spiritual life, but more important, and what our ancestors bring to us. But more importantly, it's our pattern for who we are in this lifetime, right? So could you lead us into this discussion, and starting off with telling us what is DNA?
All right. Well, the word DNA stands for deoxyribonucleic acid. Big scientific term. The DNA is where our genes are located, and the DNA is in the nucleus of every cell. And the purpose of the DNA and our genes is to manufacture proteins, mostly enzymes. And these enzymes then are what cause our biochemistry to operate. Now, there are other components to it, and our interest tonight is pretty limited. We have about 25,000 genes, and we're going to talk about 7 or 8 of them. So,
wait a minute, 25,000.
Yes.
That's a lot.
But an earthworm has 24,000. So
that kind of puts it in perspective, doesn't it? Okay, so basically what we're going to be doing is Bob showed me this book, and introduced this book to me. And I have to say, I did get it. And I started reading it. It's called Dirty Genes by Dr. Ben Lynch. And I would say that it's groundbreaking, wouldn't you, Bob? I'm trying to get
It is something that, for me, I know that this is going to become very important in medicine in the future. We're going to be looking at these kinds of things rather than guessing at what's going on with people. And Dr. Lynch has spent the last 10 years really researching this, and everything he puts in his material is based on research and on published studies. So it's not just a whimsical thing. It is very scientific and very practical. That's what I like about it.
Yeah. I'm about halfway through the book, and And audience, I have to tell you, I'm highlighting, and it's like, there's a couple of those aha moments that kind of popped up, because we're dealing with the physical body, and we all know, here at Star Nations, is that it's all interconnected. You can't work with one part and not have the other three bodies involved, right? And so we're talking about the physical body, the DNA, and the makeup, but what makes our body, and but it also affects our emotional and our mental and our spiritual bodies as well. And so as we're going along, it really is very, very scientific. It really is. But keep in mind that it's also affecting our other bodies as well. So, Bob, when we're talking about dirty genes, and there's that, I have to say, every time I say that title, the song "Dirty Jeans" goes through my head, the lyrics to it. They're down dirt cheap. They're When we're talking about the DNA, we're talking about genetics as well, right?
Right.
Okay. So what is it about the genetics that's important? You said that there's 25, how many? 25 million?
25,000 genes.
25,000 genes. But we're only going to be talking about really 7, right? So if you can tell us a little bit about the genetic aspect of that, of the genes.
Well, a gene or a group of genes are used to make certain proteins, and mostly these proteins are enzymes, and the enzymes cause certain chemical reactions to occur in our body. For example, there's a enzyme that helps us break down adrenaline. Now, if that enzyme is not present, then adrenaline builds up in your body and you feel anxious.
Ah.
Yeah.
Okay, so anxiety just isn't a state of mind or a mental aspect. There's also a physical component to it too.
Absolutely. A very huge physical component driven by dopamine, adrenaline, noradrenaline. There's a whole bunch of chemistry involved in that.
Uh-huh.
Our body has the ability to break these things down, and every individual has a different rate with which they break them down. So somebody who doesn't feel much anxiety, they are what we call a fast metabolizer, and they make some adrenaline in a scary situation. They immediately break it down and
Mhm.
build up or bother them. But
Uh,
somebody who's a slow metabolizer uh,
Uh-huh.
has this adrenaline that's running much higher. Now,
Hmm.
other genes make enzymes that break down medications, for example. And I have a patient who had severe anxiety for over 30 years.
Oh my.
And he was treated with a medication. Some people are familiar with this medication. It's called Lexapro. And he felt wonderful the first day that he was on it, and then he felt horrible. Well, it turns out that the standard dose of 20 milligrams is way too much for him, and 1 milligram per day makes him feel good.
Oh, so one size doesn't fit all then.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
he's a slow metabolizer, and
Uh-huh.
he can't break these things down very rapidly.
Hmm. Well, I just want to say hello to a couple people here that's joined us. Amy Klocko is in the house too. Hello, Amy. Welcome to the show. And you might recognize this person. Minnie Kansman's with us too.
Oh, Penny.
Yeah, Minnie, that sweetheart. So, all right. So we understand that there's a lot of science behind this. And sometimes when our mental mind gets involved with it because we really want to know and we want to understand it. But the bigger question, I think, is how does this all apply to just our daily lives? Because we don't sit around talking about the kind of acid that our genes are producing or proteins or anything like that. So how does this affect our daily life?
Well, all of this happens, of course, very automatically, and it's very individualistic. And it will change over time. So we are born with a certain set of genes. We get one set from our mother, one from our father. And sometimes those genes are somewhat defective. So
Mm-hmm.
from birth, we can't make certain proteins and certain enzymes. For example, a person who's very sensitive and has a lot of allergies and sickness as a child, quite often they have a genetic SNP in which they uh, cannot break down histamine. And
Uh-huh.
so they're building up histamine in their body. And as a result, they have all of this asthma and allergic rhinitis and all of those kinds of things.
The runny nose, the itchy eyes, the
Yeah.
itchy ears, the throat
So,
that you're constantly trying to clear. Yes.
so that's a gene that we call, we use the phrase born dirty. They're born with that. But then they can be acquired also. And so if we have too many toxins in our environment, or we're exposed to cigarette smoke as a child, or we work in a nasty environment, we can dirty the gene so that the gene can't make the enzyme that breaks down the histamine. So that's the whole thing. We can acquire these things, or we can be born with them.
Okay, so you used a phrase in there that I want to back up just a little bit so that everyone in the audience knows that the phrase that you used was dirty genes.
Right.
Sometimes we're born with them and sometimes they're acquired. So, what are dirty genes?
Well, that's a term that Dr. Lynch uses to kind of give the idea that these genes aren't working the way they're supposed to.
Mm-hmm.
And when they're dirty, it means that we can clean them up. So the good news is that we can, he uses the term soak and scrub. So when they're dirty, we can fix them, and people can have a restoration of their health. These 7 genes are responsible for about 80% of chronic illness.
80%.
Huge.
That's huge.
It is huge. And so what's going to happen is people begin to understand this, they're going to be able to recover their health.
I want to ask a question here that so some, if not all, of when we fill out the intake forms when you go see the doctor for your annual visit or whatever, and they got those little boxes that you have to check, that you have hereditary, your mother's side or your father's side, and you're checking the boxes, right? So some of those things you're saying, if not all of them, can be cleaned up if we clean up our dirty genes.
Exactly. Even the ones that you're born with do not have to be expressed. So the ones that we're born with that are clean, if they get dirtied over time, we can fix that as well.
That's huge. Because I'm thinking Native American, one of the things that is in our population is diabetes, both type 1 and type 2.
Mm-hmm.
Does it cover addictions as well?
Yes.
So
not in these 7 genes, but there is a genetic SNP that's specifically for addictions and how our body manages dopamine. And dopamine is what makes us feel good when we smoke weed or drink alcohol or do drugs.
And so even if it's not an addiction, even if it's still like anxiety or something like that, because we go through a lot of psychotherapy, which is good, it's helpful. But with these two things combined, if you're cleaning your genes, your dirty genes,
Yeah.
and you're also doing psychotherapy, you're really healing at least 2 of your bodies, your physical and your emotional.
Yes. And something that we add, the book that I wrote, Shortcut to Success, I teach people how to clean up their old programs.
Yep.
Many of us have stuff that we were taught as children that were beneficial, but now as adults, they aren't beneficial anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So if you can work on the genetics and you can work on your old programming, you don't need to go to that therapist all the time. It's good to have a sounding board, but you can do a lot of this homework yourself.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It gives a lot of people hope, is what I'm thinking.
Exactly. And empowerment.
Mm-hmm. All right. So let's see. We have another question is what what kind of issues can these dirty genes, whether they were born with them or if they're required, what do they cause? And we
Well,
got a couple
there's
slides.
also mental, emotional kinds of things, and I think we have a slide for that. ADD and ADHD, anxiety, brain fog, depression, fatigue, insomnia, sleep issues, irritability, memory problems. Um, Insomnia, for example, if you're a person that's a slow metabolizer of adrenaline and you make adrenaline to get through your day, or you drink a lot of stimulants, coffee, energy drinks, things like that, it's going to cause a increased production of adrenaline.
Mm-hmm.
You're not breaking it down very quickly, so it might take 2 or 3 hours at night to break down the adrenaline to allow you to go to sleep. Now, there's also a gene responsible for making serotonin, and serotonin is converted to melatonin. Now, we think of it as a supplement, but we make melatonin in our own bodies. But if you don't have enough, you can't go to sleep.
That would be me.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the falling asleep. Once I'm asleep, I'm good to go. It's the falling asleep.
Well, I learned a technique many years ago, a mental technique.
Mm-hmm.
Go to sleep in at least 5 seconds. It's pretty amazing. Any place, anytime, you can just turn it off. We kind of learn to do that. But if you have a gene that's not working correctly, you may not be able to do that.
Yeah. Hmm. It's so very interesting, Bob. So now I'm going to have to learn this new technique to see, or it's a possibility that I need to do the basic protocol.
Well, cleaning up the genes is very beneficial.
Yeah.
I do have a CD that teaches people how to go to sleep, but if you're overamped with adrenaline or you're not making enough melatonin, then that technique doesn't work as well.
Mm.
So also cardiovascular issues, heart disease, strokes, hypertension, triglyceride elevation.
Here, wait a minute. We got the cardiovascular here. I just want to
Yeah,
give it a little bit. Um, and so it covers the stroke and hypertension, the triglyceride, heart disease. Yeah, because there's so many people that I know that they have heart conditions that run in their family.
yeah,
Uh, hmm. So we don't necessarily have to have that in our families, really.
exactly. The gene can be dormant or it can be expressed. Uh,
Hmm.
Female hormone issues, very much connected to the genetics. Menopause difficulties, menstrual problems, um, menstrual migraines, PMS, fertility issues, miscarriage. We do a lot of work with this with hormone replacement therapy using natural hormones in our practice.
Hmm.
Um, the genes are extremely important in this concept. So, what we've learned to do in medicine, both natural medicine and traditional medicine, is to try to kind of treat symptoms. But
Yeah.
what we're going to be doing in the future is we're going to back this up to look at causes.
Hmm.
So if we can figure out why a person can't break down their estrogen, many women have weight issues, and it's because they are estrogen dominant. They have too much estrogen in their system. And there's a gene that controls an enzyme that breaks down estrogen.
Oh my.
Yeah, it's
So things that we've grown up with is like middle age spread,
yeah,
or even the college age, the freshman 20, the 20 pounds that people put on it for their freshman year. A lot of that could be connected to your DNA, to the
exactly.
dirty genes. Interesting, huh? And so much for hot flashes then too, huh?
Well, we have learned how to help people with those using the supplements, but if your issue is associated with a dirty gene and you fix that, then you don't need the supplement.
Yeah. Because your body's doing it naturally.
Exactly.
I love this. All right, so the next one is gland and organ issues.
Yeah, a lot of people have the diagnosis of fatty liver, and this is because the the enzymes that are designed to break down triglycerides and some of these fatty components in our blood are not working correctly. Most gallstones are made out of cholesterol. And so if we have too much cholesterol in our bile, again, that is something that's controlled by some enzyme, and the enzyme is controlled by the gene.
Mm,
Thyroid dysfunction, food cravings, people that have carb cravings. There,
yeah.
there is a specific gene that's connected to these carb cravings.
All right. So when we talk about sacred chocolate and we have and we go through it for by the bags full during a class, it's really about the cravings.
Yes. Now, there's an interesting component to that. Women who have chocolate cravings during their menses, during that period in their cycle, they need a lot of L-phenylalanine. This is an amino acid, and that is in chocolate.
Oh,
Body knows that the L-phenylalanine is there, and so part of that craving has to do with your need for that particular amino acid.
I
So
see.
some people who have that problem, they just buy L-phenylalanine at a health store, and
Yeah.
they take some of that every day, and when they're having these chocolate cravings.
Mhm. And so it bypasses the sugar and all the other stuff that they put into the
Yeah,
chocolate.
yeah,
Ah, so we can still, well, our body is telling us what to do, really, if we listen to it, right?
exactly.
Okay. So our next slide is about, oh, I don't know what this is.
Well, this is a genetic SNP that is called MTHFR, and this gene creates enzymes that affect over 200 physical processes in our body. And if you don't make enough of this, this is called methylfolate reductase. If you don't make enough of that enzyme, then you're going to affect up to 200 of these enzymatic processes that are helping us to break things down, to build things up. Um, and so it's very, very important. Now, methylfolate is a form of folic acid that is found in plants. It's a natural form of folate.
Hmm.
A lot of foods have synthetic folic acid in them,
Yeah.
but actually, your body has a very difficult time of converting that to methylfolate. It cannot use folic acid directly,
Hmm.
convert it to methylfolate.
So basically, the body doesn't really recognize the chemical folate.
Exactly. So it converts it, and but a much better way of getting what you need in terms of methylfolate is to eat green leafy vegetables. So everybody should be eating spinach and chard and kale, and these green vegetables
Hmm.
have the direct supply. You can buy methylfolate, but sometimes that backfires because too much of it can also cause a problem.
All right. So then we have to, we're back to it's an individual amount.
Exactly.
So if you're taking the supplements, it might be easy. It might be easy to get too much.
Yep.
But whereas if you eat the green leafy greens, your body's going to tell you I've had enough.
Exactly. We're really not smart enough to know how much of these supplements to take. And one of
Mhm.
the things I learned from Dr. Lynch is what he calls um, oh, I forgot the name of it. It's a method to determine how much of a supplement you need.
Mm.
He calls it the pulse method. So what you do is you take a supplement, and if it doesn't make you feel better, you don't need that. But if it does make you feel better, you take it until you feel better, and then you stop.
Hmm.
Then, when you start feeling bad again, you take the supplement again until you feel better, and then you stop. And what you're doing is you're learning how much you need, what kind of interval you need, because we don't need these things every single day.
Mm-hmm.
People go to a doctor or naturopath and they're told, well, you need to take this. And so they take it every day for the rest of their lives.
Yeah.
You know, I see people taking 40 supplements. It's ridiculous. Most of them are not needed.
Okay. So this was one of the aha moments for me. It's like, so it's not, it's when you're taking a supplement, it's not like taking an antibiotic where you have to take so much for 7 days.
Right.
It really is if you feel like if your body needs it. If when you're not feeling well, not
Mm-hmm.
quite up to par, and then when you're feeling good, that you don't have to take that supplement. Whereas
Exactly.
I think we kind of, I don't know if it's a belief system or if it's just easier just to keep taking it because otherwise we forget to take it. That's the other thing. If you forget to take it, does that mean that your body doesn't need it?
Well, that's what we teach in homeopathy is that people take the remedy until they forget to take it. When you forget, it means you don't need it.
One of your neighbors that lives down the road is saying hello to you, Rochelle.
Hi, Rochelle.
um, okay, so then the next, so the MTHFR is a very important piece.
Exactly. But it works in concert with some of these other genes. So why don't we go to the next one?
Okay.
CMOT, and there it says fast or slow. So this particular gene and the enzyme that it makes is uh, it, it it determines the speed with which we break down dopamine, norepinephrine, epinephrine. Those are adrenaline. So it affects our moods and our energy, our ability to calm down. Some people can get angry and they can be over it in 5 seconds, and some people get angry and it takes them 20 minutes, 2 hours, 2 days.
Mm.
So if you have a slow CMT, what's going to happen is you can't break these things down rapidly, and so you're going to have a buildup, and you will feel those feelings longer. This particular one also affects estrogen metabolism, and
Okay.
important in the governing of hormone balances.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, I think that they're all important. It'd be like trying to figure out which one is the most important. I think they're all important.
Absolutely,
Okay.
and
So
you can
the
tell
the
they're
D8,
dirty.
yeah.
You can tell which ones are dirty by your symptoms. And in the book, he gives a checklist, and when you go through that, you can start to see your picture of yourself emerge, and then you can start to see which of these need to be fixed.
Yeah. And you can have more than one at
Oh,
a time.
the DAO is one that affects our ability to break down histamine. So our food has histamine in it, and our gut bacteria often produce histamine. And now, if you can't break that down adequately, you're going to have you're going to be near the threshold of having allergy symptoms all the time.
Uh-huh.
So your food sensitivities and then environmental things add to this allergy load.
And does that also include the really serious life-threatening ones like crepeanuts and
Yes.
that sort of thing? Wow.
So what happens is if you have too much histamine on board, a lot of times we take an antihistamine and
Mm-hmm.
blocks it from entering the receptors that give us the symptom,
Right.
but histamine is still high, and histamine is detrimental to our body. So taking an antihistamine makes us feel better, but it doesn't really fix the problem.
Because you don't get to the root of it.
Exactly.
Okay. I'm going to ask our audience one more time to, if you guys could please like and share the show, because this information is extremely important. It could be life-changing for someone. And it'd be nice if we could share it out so that it's going to be easier for people to find. Or if you know of somebody, even if it's just one person, is to share it with and allow them to get the information and make their own decisions for themselves, of course. But at least they'll have the information, right? So I'd appreciate it if you guys would like and share it. Yeah, because I think it's really important. Really, I would say critical. All right, let's do the next one.
So MAO is a genetic SNP that controls, again, how dopamine, norepinephrine, and serotonin work together. So it governs our mood and our ability to sleep, and it has to do with sugar and carb cravings. So many times people crave carbs because they need a little bit of energy. So they
Mm-hmm.
get a little boost, and then a half an hour later, they're feeling kind of draggy again, and they need to have a little more carb. And so
Yeah.
it could be candy or cookies or potatoes or chips or all these carbohydrate snacks.
Mm-hmm.
And the amount of serotonin that we produce is important, but also what's important is how fast we break it down. If we're fast metabolizers, then we tend to be depressed and have difficulty sleeping.
Oh my goodness. I was going to say that's one for me too. I'm sure. I'm sure a lot of people in our audience are doing the same thing, right?
Yeah.
Those in the live chat, let us know. Let us know if the ones that we've covered so far that Bob has shared with us, does any of them speak to you? Is like, oh yeah, that's me. Because that I'd be interested to know if anybody else is in the audience doing what I just did. Was like, oh my God, that's me. Okay, so we have the next one.
So GST and GPX, these are two genes that work together, and this is what helps us to detoxify harmful chemicals. So the pesticides and herbicides and the additives that they put in food, these things are in our body in a form that often they can't be removed, and this particular gene makes enzymes that will convert it into a form that we can get it out through our urine or through our bile into
Mm-hmm.
the bowel and down the toilet, or it can come out through our sweat, or it
Mm-hmm.
can come out through our lungs.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so um, a lot of people that have gluten sensitivities, I read a while ago that it's their sensitivity to the chemical that they put on the wheat.
Well,
Causing it.
what they did was they modified the gluten to make
Mhm.
wheat seeds resistant to fungus. So the farmers have a problem in the fall when they're ready to harvest. There's a fungus that likes to get on the wheat heads. It's called smut. And
Mm.
this creates a black mold, not the black mold that we find in our homes, but a black mold that then makes.
Uh-oh. Hopefully we didn't lose him.
Yeah,
I,
am I back?
you're back. You probably just got a call. That's all right.
And,
Keep going.
all right. So anyway, they modified the gluten to help the wheat be resistant to the mold. Unfortunately, what it did was it changed the gluten so that it looks somewhat like insulin and
Oh.
interferes with the insulin receptors on every cell. So now insulin can't get into the receptor the way it's supposed to,
Mhm.
and so now you have excess sugar in your blood. Insulin can't get into the receptor to turn on the sugar pump that moves the
Uh-huh.
sugar out of your blood into your cells. Your cells are starved, so they send a message to your brain to eat more carbohydrates, and we
Mhm.
get this vicious cycle.
Cycle. Oh my gosh. All right, so we have a couple more people joining us. Bradley, Jean, Pete, hello. Welcome to the show. And we also have Laura Fiddler. So good to have you guys in chat. Um, and so, Bob Huntington is a guy that knows a lot of information. I mean, it's amazing. It's amazing at just this one piece, because really this is just a slice, right?
Right.
Yeah. I think we're going to do the next one. I need to keep track of the time here. We're going to do the next one.
Uh, we won't spend too much time here, but NOS3 is a gene that controls the enzymes that have to do with your blood vessels. So if this isn't working correctly, you tend to build this plaque underneath the lining of the arteries. And this is what creates strokes and heart attacks and high blood pressure and things like that.
Mm. Oh my goodness. You know, my mother-in-law is on 2 different high blood pressure medications at the same time.
Yeah, I know people that are on 3 or 4 of these to overcome the effect of the buildup of plaque inside of the arteries.
Mm-hmm. It's amazing. It's amazing that our body already knows what to do.
Yes.
If we just clean it up, right?
Right.
All right, we got one more here.
So PMT, this has to do with the cell walls of all of your cells, particularly brain and liver. So people that have this issue, they have leaky gut syndrome, attention problem, pregnancy problems, menopause issues, fatty liver, and this is actually fairly easy to clean up. So then your liver starts working the way it's supposed to, and your bowel starts working the way it's supposed to. And when those things happen, then many of these chronic conditions go away.
Yeah. Okay. So, you know, if I were sitting, hi, Marlene. Marlene Farrell is saying hello. So if I were sitting in the audience and I hadn't read the book yet, I'd be saying, how do we clean this up? How do we do it? Wait a minute. How did they get dirty in the first place? And how do we clean it up?
Well, that's a really good question. And if you would put that next slide up,
Sure.
a lot of this has to do with our diet. So, too many carbs, too many sugars, too many proteins, not enough protein, not enough healthy fat, a shortage of nutrients that your genes need to work properly, such as methylfolate, vitamin B vitamins, vitamin C, copper, zinc. These are all what are called cofactors, and they make these enzymes work more accurately. And so what happens is if our diet is incorrect, we tell people all the time, you got to stay away from the carbs. You need enough protein, but not too much. You need some healthy fats. But when people really start to look at the genetic information, they're much more likely to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Finding is when people get it, they get it. You know, it isn't just me telling them you should. They understand it at a gut level that I need to do this for myself.
Yeah, and that's no pun intended, right? At the
Right.
gut. So, and I can see why or how this can be so empowering is because we're taking the responsibility and the power that our body already has.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
Right.
this we can do like exercise. If you have a really sedentary lifestyle, some of these genes aren't gonna work the way they should. So if you learn that you have to have exercise in order to make the gene work that helps you break down histamine, it's going to be much easier for you to get out and do that exercise. Now, overtraining, too much exercise is also not good. Electrolyte deficiencies, and this often happens when people exercise and they don't eat correctly afterwards, or they don't drink enough
Water.
water or electrolyte replacer. And that's not Gatorade and Powerade and those sugary beverages.
Right. What is a good electrolyte replacer?
Well, actually, if you just drink water and then eat some food afterwards, good healthy food, you're going to get everything you need from that food.
Oh, good.
You can. A lot of people will make a smoothie with a banana and some green leafy vegetables and some blueberries, and there's everything you need in that.
Mm-hmm. That's
The
great.
interesting story about Gatorade that I'll share here in a minute.
Sure.
Gatorade was first developed by a company that collected sweat from the Florida Gator football players. They analyzed that sweat, and then they made a drink that mimicked that sweat. And the purpose was to replace the electrolytes that they lost in their sweat. And it was a proprietary drink just for that team for a few years. And then they thought, well, hey, make a bunch of money. So they started selling it to the other teams. But when it went public, some kids actually died because, these replacements were for 300-pound football players that were working hard and not for children. And so they took almost everything out of it except a bunch of sugar and some potassium. So today Gatorade is a farce. It really does no good to replace electrolytes. But everybody's been programmed to think that.
God. All right, we just did some myth busting there, right?
Yeah, sorry about that.
That's all right. But Ingrid is with us. She's saying hello. Hello, Ingrid. So glad to see you in the chat. And somebody that you know, Bob, Sonia Smith.
Oh, hey, Sonia.
Yeah. All right. So let's do the next one. How they get dirty.
Yes, sleep. So not enough deep restorative sleep. If you do have sleep issues at night, it's important actually that you take some cat naps during the day. And these should be less than 15-minute naps. If you get into a half hour, 45 minutes, you get your sleep cycle all messed up. So 15-minute naps. And going to bed late and getting up late is not healthy for you. Ideal is dusk to dawn, but we are in a society where we can't really do that. So a good ideal is 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. But many people have depression in the winter because mammals are supposed to sleep and hibernate in the winter.
Yeah.
We're really supposed to sleep from dusk until dawn. That's how we're programmed.
Oh my gosh, that's how my grandparents used to be from dusk to dawn. Of course, you also have to know that in their generation, many times they didn't have electricity.
Right.
And so it was easier to go to bed when it's getting dark out.
Yeah.
And Marlene's asking a question here, Bob. She says, there is a low sugar Gatorade. Is that okay when on the go?
Well, it depends what they use for a sweetener. Some of them have aspartame and sucralose in them, and these are very harmful. So if just low sugar, that may be okay. But it would be better to make your own beverage using fresh fruit and vegetables.
Yeah. All right. Here's the next one.
So
environmental.
For dirty food, the food that we get from the grocery store has lots of chemicals on it. A lot of it has been irradiated. We need to try to grow our own food, or at least know where it's coming from. Water is a problem. Air pollution, even indoor air. Our indoor air is very polluted with the chemicals that come off of our furniture, our carpets, the glues in our wood. Homes really, they need to breathe, and we see people who are ill because of sick buildings because the building doesn't breathe. Dirty products. So many chemicals are helpful in our lives, but our body can't get rid of them.
Right.
And so they tend to build up and eventually cause problems.
That's where feng shui comes into the picture.
Yeah, it's definitely.
Okay, and so I think, do we have one more slide? I think so.
Yeah, the stress. I want to talk about that a little bit.
Yes.
Stress. So long-term illness, chronic infections, food intolerances, insufficient sleep. These are physical stresses to our physical body, and then the psychological stresses. So the issues that we have with our work or at home or loved ones. And this is where some of the techniques in my book, The Shortcut to Success, are very helpful. Because, it teaches how to eliminate some of that stuff. Also, people need to meditate every day. They need to spend some time relaxing and meditating.
I was going to take a picture of this book today, and I kind of got got sidetracked. And so this is Bob's book, A Shortcut to Success. And
It's
his other book, I just want to show that quick, is put your health. I'm sorry, put your health in your own hands. His other book.
The Success book is also available in an audio book. So for people that don't care to read, they can download it from Audible.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So the second part to that question was, all right, now that we know how our genes get dirty, how do we clean it up?
Well, lifestyle is the most important thing, and nutrition. So those things that we just talked about are very important. There are supplements that are important, and but we emphasize that it's really your lifestyle that has to work. A pill for an illness is not the answer. That's what traditional medicine is doing, and it overlooks the root cause. We want to find the cause and fix that. So cleaning up the diet, getting enough exercise, not too much exercise, getting adequate amount of sleep, managing stress. Those are the key ingredients. There are some ways that you can learn about this, and so reading that book and studying it is very beneficial. You can do some genetic testing, and
Yep.
some people have already done Ancestry.com or 23andMe. You can download the data from either one of those programs to something called Strategene. Strategene is a program created by Dr. Lynch, and that converts the raw data into pathway schematics. These are actually pictures of how the genes and the enzymes are operating in your body and where the faulty ones are and what you can do to speed up something that's too slow or what you can do to slow down something that's too fast. Now, we prefer Ancestry.com. 23andMe recently was purchased by a pharmaceutical company, and they have changed some of the information that you get. And they've taken out one of the genes that's responsible for addictions. And this is a huge problem right now with the opioid addictions, alcoholism. We need that information, and it's not done. So we usually recommend Ancestry.com and then downloading that to Strategene. And when you combine that information with what's in the Dirty Genes book, most people can figure this out.
Yeah.
There are some coaches around, and I'm in a training program right now to be able to help people to sort out this information because it is somewhat confusing.
Yeah. Well, and we now know how important it is to have our genes doing the work that they were meant to do.
Exactly.
And so to have somebody like you to be able to help us through that would be, I'm so glad you're taking that class, that certification course. We have a couple people here wanting to say hello to you. Dale Mabren.
Hi, Dale.
And also Jody Moyer.
Hey, Jody.
She says, I'll see you on Thursday.
Must have an appointment.
I must. Marlene's agreeing with you with the information you gave her about Gatorade.
Oh, good.
And Sue Reimer is saying, hello. Hello, Sue. And she's saying, Bob is amazing. Now, so there in the book, Dirty Genes, there is a protocol, right, that he shares. And so I think that if you get the book, it's a good basis to start from, at least to understand in more detail than we can do in an hour about the Dirty Genes. Now, Bob, we get about 5 minutes, and so is there anything else that you feel that's important that we cover that we haven't yet? Because we have about 5 minutes, and we can cover a lot in 5 minutes.
Well, I think that what's really important about this whole process is that it empowers an individual to take control of their own life. Lots of times we don't want to do that. We're kind of lazy. We want somebody to do it for us. We want to go to the doctor and have them fix us, or we want to go to the naturopath or the chiropractor and have them fix us.
Mm-hmm.
But what we really need to understand is we have to do this ourselves. You know, there's no white knight that's going to save us. We have to do this ourselves. And we really can become our own superhero if we understand how these things are caused. You know, that's the real important thing, is the root cause. There's a cause for everything.
Mm-hmm.
We just have to find it.
Right.
And what's really neat about this period in our lives is this information is now available. It wasn't available 10 years ago. We didn't know. So now we do. We have to get.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we got a little bit of the audio is a little, because a call came in for Bob, and it just kind of, so the audio and the picture isn't quite the same, but that's okay. We got the information. It's just that your video is a little lagged from your audio. It's okay. We got all the information. It wasn't, one of the things that I wanted to mention is that, and this is a thought that came to me as I was reading and I was highlighting stuff in the book, is that when we're doing our own personal healing, we're healing those emotional and mental traumas. When we're talking about healing, for it to be complete, we have to include the other bodies. We have to include the physical body and the spiritual body in that. So we're covering all four of our bodies for it to be a complete healing.
Exactly.
And when we're working on our physical body with this kind of information, I think that it puts us into a position of it's a stronger position. We have a more firmer foundation to go from, so that we're really truly dealing with an emotional trauma that's not caused by our body and our genes not working properly, such as anxiety, or if you're recovering from a sexual abuse or anything like that, at least your physical body is stronger to be able to go through the healing process of the emotional and mental. Wouldn't you agree, Bob?
Yeah, they're really all very connected, and the spirituality is an absolute must. Everybody really needs to focus on that as well. But it's about balance.
Yes, absolutely. Can you believe it, Bob? We covered all of that in
Yeah,
an
that's
hour.
a short hour.
In a very short hour. We have a couple people here that want to say hello to you. Penny Lepley. I
Oh,
hope I pronounced that right. And Esperanza Stevens, another person from the East Coast. Welcome, and so good to see you guys in the chat. And just catching the very end of the show. And so, Bob, if somebody wanted to get a hold of you or to find you, where is the best place to do that?
well, my website is currently under construction, and so bob.huttinga@gmail.com. That's my best email. We do phone consultations if people are at a distance, and I see patients 2 days a week. I'm partially retired, and so they can call my office as well.
Okay, so hang on. I'm trying to put your email in there. It was Bob and your last name, right? Huttinga?
Yeah, Huttinga, Huttinga.
Huttinga at
Gmail.
no. Oops.
There's two T's.
Okay. Autocorrect.
Yeah.
Hang on, it's going to take me a little bit because it changed it. Okay, so it's Bob Huttinga at Gmail.
Yes.
Okay. And we're going to put that in there. So if anybody wants to make an appointment with you or to ask you questions about this, they can certainly do that.
And Wednesday morning, Facebook, we have questions.
Okay, so your main, I mean, your news feed, your timeline is where you have your medical questions on Wednesday morning. Did you say?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Going to have to put that on my. I'm going to find a way to get notified for that because every once in a while I run across it and I'm just like, get the notification right away. So, Bob, I wanted to thank you so much for making time for us this evening and to share this important information with us. And I have a feeling that we touched a lot of souls tonight, those aha moments. So, thank you so much.
Thank you very much for putting on the show.
Yeah.
That's a really important part of this.
And we'll keep in touch. Maybe somewhere down the road we'll do another show with another topic that you feel is really important for us to know about.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you to everybody that is in the live chat. Thank you so much for being with us tonight. And for those who'll be watching the recorded show, thank you so much. And we still ask you to like and share. If you find this information helpful or you think that somebody that would benefit from the information, please share the recorded show with them. Okay. All right. So with that, and Siri got turned on somehow. Don't know how that happened. Enjoy the rest of your evening, and we'll see you next week for Communications from Home, where we'll be doing the Unity Breath Meditation. Why? Because it's the last Tuesday of the month. So we'll see you next Tuesday. Thanks, everybody. Have a good evening.
Good night.